Now it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Michelle and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie. And we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth. Today we're talking about Him, directed by Justin Tipping from 2025. We will be discussing spoilers throughout this entire episode, so if you have not yet seen Him, which, judging by the box office, there's a good chance that you haven't, please do not listen to this. Go and watch the film and then come back and listen. My guest for today is Marc Rob, a.k.a. Silly Goose Magoo, a.k.a. the Goat Herder. What's up, man?
There it is. What's going on, baby? we talking like football players today.
Slap my butt or slap your butt. I don't know. Do they still do that?
No, I don't think they do it very much anymore, but your head's in the right place.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. So a while back, I had put out a call for guests, and I let people pick what movie, and you picked this one, and I was so excited because I had only seen like the little teaser trailer that came out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be great." And then I have not thought about this movie since then.
Hilarious. I mean, it's actually a little controversial because when Him was first announced, it was announced as a Jordan Peele directed film, and then even on Letterboxd, I remember early it said that Jordan Peele was a director, and then like a couple of days later, it was like, no, it's a Jordan Peele like umbrella Monkey Paw Productions film,
Right.
and then I think this weekend a lot of people, advertising, they do a little option, run option, play action, pass. We're gonna do a lot of football terms today, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna be lost, but I'm just gonna go, yep.
So a lot of people went into this thinking that they were getting a Jordan Peele movie, which it's technically not a Jordan Peele directed movie, but I think this type of movie is what Monkey Paw Productions, like, this is the type of show that they actually want, and I think it delivered on that. But we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is like when Quentin Tarantino had a lot of goodwill in the 90s, and he was like, this is presented by, and it was like, he started trying to bring over titles, from Hong Kong or whatever, and just putting his name. I have no real problem with that. Like, I know there's been a lot of people kind of making fun of the idea that like people were hyped because it was Jordan Peele, and then they were so let down by it. I don't know. Movies have always been produced by people. When Jerry Bruckheimer produces a movie, it says produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. You know what I mean? Like, his name is on the poster. So
The funny thing, you actually brought up an incredible example. In my house, I have a poster that originally released when, I guess, Chungking Express came to Mexico. On the poster, it says Quentin Tarantino presents. I love that movie. That's actually, I think, my favorite Wong Kar-wai movie. It's so funny you brought up that. So yeah.
I don't think I can. I'm in the very small minority of people who thinks that 2046 just has like the teeny tiniest slight edge on In the Mood for Love.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think 2046 it gets dwarfed, but I don't think it should. Like, I think it's an incredible movie. I think 2046 is a really great movie.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, In the Mood for Love is a masterpiece. It's incredible film. I think it's just a little easier of a story to handle than 2046. So maybe that's why more people gravitate towards it. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today.
the exact opposite type of movie. We're talking about Him.
But you and I both saw this last night. How did you just your initial thoughts on Him, the film?
Before going into the movie, like, a lot of the Twitter discourse has been super dismissive. And even before then, like, I'm someone who, I grew up on sports. I grew up on watching pro sports, pro football, the NFL. I mean, today is like Saturday is college football like it's a season for football again.
Yeah.
And so a big part of like my coming up just as far as like looking at movies and films, like sports movies a lot of times get dismissed critically
Sure.
when
Sure.
unless it's like Raging Bull from Martin Scorsese, if it's not like that, like upper echelon, which is super rare, like sports movies just kind of have their fandom with sports fans. Like movies that Oliver Stone directed, like Any Given Sunday, I think you guys
Sure.
actually cover that too. Um,
Oh, well, I haven't talked about Any Given Sunday yet, but it's an interesting movie.
it is, and I think the director's cut of that movie is pretty fascinating.
Does he still end the movie in the credits?
Well, oh yeah, yeah.
I could not believe my eyes. It's like the movie's over. We're at this press conference, and it's like
It keeps
really
going.
important things are happening. Like, and we're not talking about like how Sinners had like a coda.
Yeah,
This is like the actual end of the movie.
yeah. The boom operator's name's coming by, the driver's name coming by, and Cameron Diaz is shocked that Al Pacino has switched franchises. Uh, but yeah, coming into this movie, like a lot of people dismiss him, and a very small part of me was like, are people dismissing this because they just don't like sports movies in general? Like, does the average movie fan like the NFL, like college football, just like
Yeah,
sports
yeah.
in total? And going into it, I was like, it's being dismissed. I like sports movies though. We're going to find this middle ground, and the movie itself, it doesn't hold your hand when it comes to like teaching you about sports. Like,
Right.
I think the genius of a movie like Bull Durham is if you don't watch, I mean, no one watches minor league baseball for the very most part. It's like a traveling circus, basically. But the genius thing about that movie is you can have very little to no connection to baseball. It holds your hand through the actual romanticism of what makes baseball great, and you come through with like these incredible characters. This pretty good action as far as like the baseball is concerned, and you get a great movie by the end of it. Because a dismount isn't about a game; it's about like two characters falling in love, basically. And so
Right.
this movie, like, it doesn't tell you what a combine is. It doesn't tell you like it
Right.
doesn't tell you different positions of football. There's no big game. There's no championship on the line. It's really just about a guy trying to make a football team.
Right.
And I think the best parts of the movie are going to be more geared toward people who like. If you're a horror fan and you like a lot of visual, creative, weird stuff, like this is pretty much it. I think of any sports movie, this may be the most visually unique sports movie like almost ever. Like
Yeah.
it takes a
Yeah.
lot of chances, a lot of big swings, and I really appreciated that. And then the kind of machinations of what football is, I kind of dig that. And I think they did a pretty decent job of that.
Yeah, as far as the dismissive thing about, people who like movies, maybe they don't fully grasp sports. I, as you well know, am not a sports person in the slightest. In fact, in our Discord the other day, I was very proud of myself. I knew what to search. I knew to search for juke when someone goes one way and then quickly goes the other way.
Yes.
And I was very proud that I knew how to find that GIF.
Hilarious.
But I think that him does a good job of like, yeah, I I didn't fully know what a combine is, but I got that it was important for what he was doing next.
Yeah.
I got that it was part of trying out for the team. But I'm actually kind of like a American football hater. And so for me, this movie worked wonderfully because I was like, yeah, this is evil. Yeah, this is the modern day Colosseum and the Gladiator. And these people are our modern day, like gods and idols.
Yeah.
And it's all ramped up way too far. Like, do I think that how many people go out on a field for a team for football? like 8 at a time?
It's 11 on 11, I believe.
Okay. So, if you gather up 22 friends and you all go out and you play pass football, touch football, flag football, tackle football, do I think that that's evil? No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, it's a fun sport, right? It's a little bit, of chess, arranging your pieces and then seeing how it works out. That's fine. But American football has gotten to this really dangerous level. And I love how in the film, the doctor, played by Jim Jeffries, probably the first time I've ever been able to stand Jim Jeffries in my life.
Hilarious.
Which is no offense to Jim Jeffries. He has that kind of persona with his comedic stylings. But I actually really dug him in this. I was very surprised. Like, Jeffries really won me over the course of the film.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But he's like, yeah, it turns out, the human skull isn't designed to crash into each other. And I think that there's a lot of anti-football stuff in here. There's a lot of pro-football stuff in here. I think that it's just an artistic but honest look at the state of things. And then it kind of goes a little off the deep end at the end, but I didn't care. I thought that was cool. There's the scene where I think they're practicing like him getting sacked, and he's in that helmet where he can't really see like the full range of motion that he should as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then they flip it, and he's actually the one doing the tackling, and they do that thing where they do like the X-ray shot, which they do a few times in the movie. I liked that. I don't really like CGI stuff, but I thought all of the times that they utilized that effect worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, he hits a guy too hard and he's on the ground, and he's doing the thing with his hand that's signaling that there's
Concussive
brain.
damage,
Yeah, right. There's damage there, and they all kind of dance around him, and they're chanting and they're singing, and we know, from watching a game, when someone gets hurt, that's not what's happening in the stadium. Everyone's very quiet. It's very scary. It's very intense. You hope that the person's well, but then they get carted off, and then the game continues, the show goes on, and we're back to celebrating again. And I don't know. I feel that I was able to follow along with the story, knowing almost nothing about football, and I thought that it did a good job of showing, the guts and the glory of the whole thing.
Yeah. So would you believe, Seth, that I told you, I think it was 3 seasons ago in the NFL, a player in the NFL got killed on the field. A player on the NFL field died. And he came back to life, and he's still playing in the NFL. Would you, if I told you that was true, would you believe me?
Now I don't know if you're telling me the truth. I mean, I guess I would believe you.
There's a player, his name is DeMar Hamlin. He plays for the Buffalo Bills. There was, I think, a Thursday night football game, and he collided with another player, and he literally died for a couple of minutes. They, did this circle around him, like the knees on the ground, paracircles, all that. Fast forward to 2025, he's still in the NFL playing football. Like that. And when in the movie, when they do the head-to-head collision and the guy on the ground is making the fingers, that actually has happened currently in the NFL. There's a quarterback named Tua Tagovailoa. He's a quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
He has had multiple concussions through headshots. And when this is awful. I can't believe I know this, but every NFL fan kind of knows this because of him. If you get a concussion, you don't recover, and then immediately in the aftermath, you get another concussion when your brain is not fully healed. That's when your body makes those fingers. And why do I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm just a dude that watches a violent sport. Why do I know this kind of science about the human brain? And so the idea that like they're dancing around him Marlon with the character Isaiah, he gets super sullen, so you think that he's gonna like chastise him. He looks him dead in his eyes and says, "I'm proud of you." That has happened on so many football fields. I'm not even talking about NFL fields. I'm talking about college. I'm talking about high school. I'm talking about Pee Wee, where some defensive kid is like laid out another human being, and their coaches and family and friends are like all proud of them, and they get rewarded for it.
Right.
And so I think for me, who's seen this I've been watching sports since 1990, like, and especially when the pro football like tries to kind of legislate the violence of the sport, but you absolutely just cannot do it. Like, people take headshots and people get celebrated for it. And I think this movie did a pretty good job of like the idea that like professional football just in general, actually, not even pro football, just football in general, is a sport that has like a lot of like obsessive fandom tied to it in a lot of gross ways.
Sure.
And I think this movie put it off pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, this is heightened, right? Like, this is not Bull Durham. This is a heightened film. And I'm going to be defending this movie, not against you, but just as I'm talking about it, because I liked this film. I really did. I felt the same way walking out of this as I did walking out of The Substance, which was like, I was like fist pumping, like, heck yeah, that was crazy and ridiculous. And I really don't know if they stuck this landing, but I'm walking out of the theater smiling and laughing, and like everyone else walking out is like head hung low, bummed out.
Their team lost, Seth. They lost a big
game.
It
was the same. It was the same exact reaction to seeing The Substance, and then I just saw that, like, I think The Substance came out a year ago today or something, like same weekend, you know. And for me, this movie is really similar to The Substance and Ex Machina, Alex Garland's Ex Machina. In that in both films, you have an older person who is the living legend, and then there's the younger person who is either their protege, the person that they're manipulating, or like the scapegoat, or the person that they're using or manipulating in some way. But there's a tumultuous relationship between the past and the future. I wouldn't even say the present, you know, because Cam is the future of is it the Saviors, right? That's the team.
The San Antonio Savers.
Yes.
Saviors, yeah.
And so I don't know why people are being so down on this one, unless it's just that we've come to the end of a trend in filmmaking of how things look and sound and how scenes play out, and people are just tired of it. And I felt the same thing about The Woman in the Yard, which I think was this year. I loved The Woman in the Yard.
I like that movie too.
Yeah, I genuinely like had a really emotional experience watching that movie as someone who suffers from anxiety and depression and like just debilitating weight of everything. That movie was extremely cathartic for me, and people just trashed it. And all I could think was, well, we have one glaring reason, which is that these are black-led films, and so is it possible that something's going on there? We know that people are review bombing anything that they can nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But two, did The Woman in the Yard just come at the end of horror based on trauma, and people just don't care anymore? You know what I mean? I think in the future, I think 15 years from now, people will look back on him and The Woman in the Yard and be like, this is great. Like, why was this not well received in the time?
Yeah, I have one gripe about him, but I'll circle back to it. But you compare this to a couple of...
Oh, I have a lot of gripes about him.
I
don't think this is a perfect movie or anything.
It's absolutely not.
Yeah.
But comparing it to a couple of movies, a movie that I was reminded of a lot was He Got Game. And the idea for He Got Game, it's not about the big movie, it's about the decision ultimately. But also... Spike's movie is about the machinations of, actually sort of similar to the idea of like you have this young black man making the decision to go to like the next level. In that
Yeah.
movie, it's really about like the agents and the money and even like ESPN clips dropping in and out, which was a yeah, game was so underrated. Please put it on Blu-ray or 4K. But anyway, and so I thought a lot of this in this movie, but also the ending. It reminded me of Ready or Not, like where we just go like just balls out, like we're just going to get
Oh
like
yeah.
super nuts to the
I
end.
haven't seen that yet, but I know through cultural osmosis, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mean the poster of Ready or Not, it's basically a woman in a bride's gown with holding a shotgun with bullets wrapped around her
Yeah.
body. And so at the
Yeah.
end of that movie, it gets I don't want to spoil it because it's a pretty good movie, but
Yeah.
when you watch the end of Ready or Not and you see kind of the final shots of that movie, you will be reminded of him. And
Yeah.
so I kind of let the movie theater thing in and out. The funny thing is, there's a section in him where someone gets beheaded, and
Yes.
he kicks the head, and I laughed out loud. And I'm very certain everyone in the movie theater thought I was some sicko, which probably, but
Yeah.
like I thought that the ending it was very out there. It was the biggest swing of the whole movie, and
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty entertaining. I was entertained by it.
Yeah. You know, because this is heightened, like I said, it didn't bother me. I didn't feel cheated. I didn't feel led on. And I also think that the movie could have ended in that, you know, Marlon Wayans is doing um, Patrick Bateman instead of I have to return some tapes. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go watch some tapes or tape, right? Tape,
Yeah.
which would be like studying games, right?
Well, that's actually the funny thing. So throughout the movie, whenever he exits a scene, he just says, "I'm going to go study tape.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch tape or whatever." And
yeah,
I mean, typically what that is supposed to mean is uh, the athlete is studying like their plays, they're studying the defense so they can prepare for the next game. But in this case, he's not actually doing that. He's sitting in a lazy boy recliner chair, just watching a video screen on plastered across the ceiling with just fans heaping
mm-hmm.
him praise. And
Mm-hmm.
the idea of a lot of what I think the athletes who have the longest tenure and who got the most praise, like this is a part of what their psyche is like
Sure.
I could not imagine what it's like to be Steph Curry hitting a
No
three-pointer
way.
to win a game, like the Olympics last summer where he basically torched France to win America the gold, and like the crowds going nuts, you have a whole country behind you, like I don't think I've done anything where like I've heard like more than 2 dozen people applaud. Like imagine millions of people
Sure.
routinely, annually heaping you with
Right.
praise. And like
Right.
how do you disconnect from that? And that's a part
Right.
of Isaiah's journey. The idea of like your body will always fail you if you're an athlete. Like it's literally a matter of time. And so,
Right.
how do you move beyond that? And that's like the tension with his character that I think is pretty fascinating, with a great performance from Marlon Wayans.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. On that lazy boy, it's a funny opposite of the ending of Superman, which I won't go into if you haven't seen
Yeah, it
Superman
is.
yet.
You're right.
But
That's
it's
so funny. That's
yeah, we get the light and the dark version. Quite, I mean, really,
very
of
much.
like of praise and what praise does to a person, right?
Yeah.
And connecting with people. But what is the connection? And I had a thought really similar to what you just said. At one point, Isaiah says to Cam, you know, all these people like screaming, chanting your name. Like you go out and the whole stadium is chanting your name. And I thought to myself, okay, if I just started from zero, if I just like, let's just say I went into a major U.S. city, New York City, no money, no nothing. what could I do to get as many people to cheer for me as I possibly could?
Yeah.
And how hard would I have to work? And what talents would I have to develop? What skills would I have to develop? What connections would I have to make to even be in front of that many people? And I realized, it's like, oh, it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's actually impossible for a normal person walking down the street to ever experience, like what you just said, what these people experience week in and week out.
Yeah.
And I think that we take stuff for granted because we are just submerged in it. And the mental state and discipline, determination of these players, I think, is something that we take for granted. They all run out into the field and they play their game, and people are screaming at them and yelling at them and all this stuff. And we just say, well, yeah, of course, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But we never stop to really consider what that would do. And I think that I love this movie because this movie is about philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's about the philosophy of football between two players coming from two different generations, one at the end and one at the start. And through a series of exercises, they are contemplating the philosophy of football and fame, and they're connecting to, like, just ancient ancient mindsets. The same, like, I loved all the gladiator comparisons, and that final scene between the two of them, when they fight, I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
I was really in it. I didn't know how it was going to end. And I know I'm going on and on and on, but there's something about a uniform, right? In our how we perceive a person when they're in a uniform, right?
Yeah.
So when a cop is in uniform, that's not a person, that's a cop.
Yeah.
Right? And when a doctor's in uniform, that's a doctor, and that's a judge, and that's a this, and that's a firefighter. And I think that we're able to visually watch these guys just get decimated week in and week out because partially they're hidden by the uniform and they're hidden by the padding, and we don't actually see the physical, like, what's happening to their physical body.
Yeah.
And so in the final scene, with all of that stuff being stripped away and it's just two men, like, killing each other, it's horrifying. And I don't know, I might be giving the movie too much credit, but
No, you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. Like I think growing up, like, especially if you were a kid kind of in the 80s and the 90s, there used to be like these video box sets of like crushing blows and like hard hitting hits and tackles where people are literally diving like missiles to blow up other people's skulls. And like we tried to kind of move away from that in like the 2000s and 2010s, and now where we try to be much more sensitive to that. We try to be much more like we don't want to have just people just like dying on the field left and right. However, like they are still sacrificing themselves. And the funny thing is, like, when in this movie, it is definitely heightened because Cam is the chosen one. But you have kids playing for, they're in college, they're playing for like Idaho Tech State versus New Jersey women's nursing college. Like you have like, there's thousands of American boys and young men that play football with no glory on the line, who are still putting themselves on the line every single time they step into the field. And I think for a lot of people, they don't really fully grasp that, while this movie truly does. Like the idea that like when Isaiah organizes the group of like 4 or 5 guys and they're free agents, and they're like they are literally dying to get on a pro team. Like and the funny thing is, you can get on a pro team, you may not even make millions of dollars. Like you can be someone that just rides the bench, getting
Sure, right.
maybe get like the league minimum, maybe like $300,000-$400,000 to the average person. That's a ton of money. But
Right.
if you get into a play and you get into a head-on-head collision, is your brain worth $400,000 for that one hit? And
Right.
I think the answer is no. If you're humane, the answer should be no. But what you said, the idea that like when you put on a helmet, I can't see the person's eyes, I can't see their thoughts, I can't see their hopes, I can't see their dreams. They are no longer a person. They're a Dallas Cowboy. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
and in the way that like we really the fandom in this movie is kind of great, where the two literal football heads and the crazy woman, they're running around and like they would give their lives just to be near this just one athlete, where a
Yeah.
lot of people like it's like this. I live in Texas. Like this is a true football state. Like it,
Sure.
and it's like
Friday Night Lights.
yes, like another great movie, another great movie. But yeah, I think that we strip the humanity of these people, and then once their game ends, we keep churning them out. Like it's literally the next man up, because we keep feeding the
Right.
beast and keep feeding the machine.
Right. Right. Yeah. I also thought of, which, it's not hard for me to think of sports movies because I've seen so few. But when we have Cam's dad, leaning over him as a child, and you see the cross dangling there, right?
Yeah.
So right there, that is that image of the thing that they repeat throughout the whole film, God, family, football, and how it becomes inverted for Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought of Hoop Dreams, right?
Yeah.
And how, again, as someone who doesn't like that college sports make money and the students don't get paid. I can't remember what year it was, but it was like every year, every state except for one, the highest paid public employee in the
Or
state was a
football
college
coach.
sports,
Yeah.
college football coach, right? I don't like any of that stuff. And so for me, Hoop Dreams was like a horror story, because you see these kids and you feel that presence and the weight of the family over them to earn money for them.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, they're giving their life. Like, these kids are coming, they're going. I think of that one kid in Hoop Dreams, and he goes to a college, and it's like he's there, and it's like him and like three other black guys live in a house,
Yeah.
and they're the only black people on campus, and it's because they play sports, and it's just some like college you've never heard of,
Yeah.
And when they come out of playing, what is their life? They've given their life to this machine in hopes of winning that lottery. And it's like, I don't know. I thought that this movie did a really good job. I don't think that they necessarily show Cam's parents to be what we would think of as abusive.
So I think that's kind of the genius of what this movie does for the parents, because from their perspective, they are not. Like from their perspective, they're loving their son, they're pushing him to do well in football. Like the father's training him in the rain, yelling at him. The mother's there to kind of like console him, to kind of smooth it out. But ultimately, it's a true fair question to ask. Like, are sports parents good people? And like, and for and the argument you can make is that the mother, she's like a real nursing mother, where the dad was like a real pushing and domineering. But shit, like if you go to like AAU, which is basically like just a real quick tangent. Like if you want to go to college and you want to be good, you got to be in like in the AAU circuit, and where it's a lot of families, a lot of parents, a lot of yelling parents pushing their kids to try to get noticed, try to get playing time. And then, like you said, like Hoop Dreams is a perfect example where like these two, they never even sniffed the NBA. And like only one barely graduated college. And so it's kind of fair to question like sports parents, their role in this. Like the idea of like you're pushing your kids into this very toxic system, like whether you're well intentioned or not, like you are putting your kid into the machine. When
Yeah.
a parent's job is supposed to protect your kids from these kind of apparatuses, and
Right.
um, so yeah, I think this movie, I think it did a really good job in being provocative in that respect. And
Yeah.
just my favorite quote from Hoop Dreams. That's why when somebody says, "When you get to the NBA, don't forget about me," I should have told to them, "If I don't make it, don't you forget about me." And
Right.
like
Right.
there's literally like millions of these stories for like for every LeBron James and Michael Jordan, there are probably 500,000 people that we've never
Right.
even heard of that never made it. So,
Right.
and I think
Yeah, it's very tough. And again, like for a kid, you know, if I went to my kid is 12, right? So if I started going to him and I was like, "Hey man, look, I really need you to start cracking open those math books because, you know, in 6 years you're gonna have to help pay, you know." And I'm not trying to put any blame on parents who are in a bad situation, but for the kid, like what that does, the pressure and the weight that they feel, I felt like this movie did it well in a subtle way. And then adding into it the religious aspect, right? Which religious trauma is very, very hard to get over.
yeah,
The idea, you know, I noticed as Cam enters the training field for the first time, he crosses himself, you know, he does a little prayer before he goes in. And the one or two times that we hear from the mom, she mentions that they're praying, that the church is praying,
yeah,
right? And so you have this second layer of weight, which is supposed to be a relief, right? Prayer and God assisting you is supposed to make you feel better.
yeah,
But instead, it's, well, look, if you are blessed in this area, it means you have to keep going.
yeah,
And so with you know, with his dad over his shoulder and with his mom and the church all laying hands on him, it's not to retreat, it's to move forward. And so he has to go in this with God on his side and his dad. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the two father figures that everyone has to reconcile with in their mind and in their heart, they're pushing me into this like hell, literally,
yeah,
in his situation. Like he's with the devil basically.
yeah,
You know, I mean, and then at the movie's end, it's literally you know, literally like Satan worship and sacrifice. And I don't know what happens to Tim Heidecker. I don't know what that was.
I mean,
So yeah, I just I thought they did a good job of showing the weight of those things, but in a subtle way.
oh yeah,
Um,
and sports in American culture is like it's very Christianized, and
sure,
like
yeah,
there's, I mean, even like I know colleges they'll have like a specific like team chaplains. I
right,
mean, one of the most famous like college, actually one of the most famous American teams is Notre Dame, the
hmm,
Fighting Irish, and so I thought it was very provocative how they kind of incorporated sort of uh, religiosity throughout the film, incorporated to where Isaiah does invert it to where it's because he says like God, family, football, then he inverts it to football, family, and God, where he himself, like you said, like the idea that like if I'm the goat, I'm the chosen one, I am God. Like I
hmm,
like, and it's kind of hard to tell someone who has like if we pumped up American sports to be if you are a champion, you are a god, and if you've done it 8 times over, how do
right,
you tell?
right,
How do you convince someone that no, you are not that at all? Like, and
right,
so and the idea that like. Yeah, like it's funny when he goes into the practice field the first time he does the kneel down and the cross. We don't see him do that throughout the movie very much anymore.
hmm,
And
hmm,
so I thought it was pretty interesting how they kind of weave that out through the entire movie.
hmm. Okay, so Real quick, let's just go through some of the actors. Tyriq Withers as Cam. I don't know that I've seen him before.
If you saw I Know What You Did last summer, the reboot this summer, he was.
I did not. I did not.
Now that's the only thing I've seen him in. So it's what I had no clue this human being existed, but now I've seen him in 2 movies within a handful of months of each other.
Right.
And this is actually one of the things that the movie could have been a little bit more biting about, like kind of the racial dynamics and kind of the colorism of what it means to be a black quarterback in the professional football. This movie doesn't really touch on that, but that is like a very ripe field because like there's a lot of like historic racism against black quarterbacks. The idea that like the quarterback, they kind of talk about this movie in the movie a little bit, to where the quarterback is seen as like the most important position on the field because he's the most smartest. Because once the ball hikes, they were doing a drill where like you hike it, you have 2 seconds to throw it.
Right.
The idea that your quarterback does have to compute that quickly. And so a lot of people have thought black people cannot think that way. And now we're in the NFL where almost half of the starting quarterbacks are black, this is a recent phenomenon. This has never happened in the history of the league. There's a division where there's 4 teams in a division, and each team has a starting black quarterback. That's never happened in NFL history. And the NFL has had 103 seasons. So, and so they could have talked about that a little bit more, but the idea that like he is kind of like, he is a light-skinned black man. Light-skinned black men are perceived to be a little bit more safe than the dark-skinned black men. And so I think his choice for hiring for the role, on top of being a fairly decent actor, like he's kind of invoking that. Also, like one of the most premier quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, he's very like fair skinned, and he's kind of like conjuring that a bit. So I thought his performance was pretty solid. Like he has the challenge of going head to head with Marlan Wayans in these scenes, and there's just scenes where he has to be like kind of a doe in headlights, basically. But I think he does a pretty good job in the role, especially in the end where he's like he has to go off the deep end a little bit. But I thought he did a pretty good job in the role.
Yeah. They touch on that, and I won't use the word that they use in the film, what Marlon calls him, but he makes a comment about the lightness of his skin, and were they afraid to dive into this because this is written by 3 non-black men? It's possible,
so
because it does seem like something that's right there, but never really pulled back.
Yeah, it's fair to question, were they afraid to, or maybe they couldn't do it. It's kind of like one or the other. This movie is not afraid to do a lot of things. So I just think that, again, like the movie being written by non-black people and directed by a non-black person, like it could be a little bit more difficult for them to kind of go to that level. So
yeah. I thought he was good. Like you said, a lot of the movie, he is, he's the lamb brought to the slaughter, and he's kind of doe in headlights, and he's trying to be like, is this normal? This is not normal, but this is what I have to do in order, I'm here with my hero. I loved him. I thought he did really good. I had no problems. There was only one scene where his brother's giving him the haircut, and he just like jumps up. He's like, I'm good. I didn't think that was very good acting, which was funny because he's like literally saying like, I'm good. But that was kind of the only part where I was like, nah, I don't know what we're going for here. I mean, I'm corny, but like I loved the staples in his head that made it look like football laces. I was like, I don't know. Yes. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, a little football lace, a little bit Frankenstein kind of conjuring. Yeah.
And I think for the ending, really for the whole movie, knowing that he is kind of going through all of these head injuries, and the film is heightened style, I didn't I didn't have any problem with things maybe not being fully real. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
are we dealing with like untrustworthy like narrator here? And
Yeah.
who cares? Whatever. They're showing us something. They're showing us pictures,
Yeah.
and we should understand through pictures. We don't think that those fans, like you said, the football head, we don't think that those are real literal people. It's a picture of what fandom can do. You know, the craziness. We have, you know, over 100 years of history of fans who have murdered famous people
Yeah.
and actors and actresses. And did they look like that when they did it? No, but that doesn't make what they did any less monstrous, you know? And so
Yeah.
anyway, Marlon Wayans as Isaiah White, how'd you feel about him?
I mean, this may be his best performance of his career. Like, I mean, I'm someone I love the Wayne show when it was on WB back in the day.
Sure.
I mean, I
Yeah.
scary movie, you know, like, you know, I'm in the back for him when, you know, kind of that '90s era comedic kind of timing stuff. Like back in the day, like I thought that was pretty. Back then, you know, I was a fan of that. Don't be a menace in South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. That is a classic in this household. So you know, like you know, for him, he's always been like the funny guy. And for this movie, it's so funny. Just kind of seeing the trailers, it's kind of like it kind of made me think like, why didn't he ever get a shot at like drama?
Mm,
Like I
right.
think Requiem for a Dream was a little bit of
Yeah.
that, but I think that may be like just it. Like, and it kind of made me think of like how Adam Sandler, where he would for the '90s, he was just a goofball basically, and
Right.
then he'll do a movie like Spanglish. That Spanglish is not very good, but it's at least
Yeah.
like has like some dramatic tension within it, and then Uncut Gems basically turned him into a legend when he was doing shit Netflix comedies for fucking a decade. So
Right.
and so it kind of made me a little bit upset that like when thinking about like why Marlon never got his shot, and I was like before watching this movie,
Yeah.
and you know, and watching it now where it's like he has to do so many things. He has to be dramatic. He has to be crazy. He has to be funny. He has to be charming in the beginning to lure you in, and he did it all. And
Yeah.
I think that you know when we look back on his career, yeah, the funny stuff is the funny stuff, but I think this movie is probably the best performance he's done as an actor.
Yeah, and it will be a shame if the film is dismissed as goofy or silly or, you know, just something not to take seriously, because I thought that he was very good. I mean, some of those moments where he's just screaming into Cam's face, very, very good. There was one there was one moment where when he's sitting there with the gun,
Yeah.
he says a word and I can't remember what the word is, but he's like, "Oh, sorry, I was being a little bleep, bleep," like
I forgot what he said too.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
or like I can't remember what it was, but I was like, that's the one time in this movie where I thought you didn't act that well. But
Hilarious.
I thought he was great, and I think Requiem for a Dream, you know, when I was younger, that movie was a well loved, you know, lauded film. Nowadays, it's like people, you know, think it's total garbage. But I think doesn't matter how you feel about the film. I thought that he did well in it. The only thing that I would say is maybe the reason why he hasn't done as many acting jobs is because he does produce and write
Yeah.
as well. So like he might be a little more busy. You know, each project that comes out, um, you know, for a movie like Naked, uh, 2017, you know, he's in it, but he's also writing and producing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen some of his stand up too. He's funny, but yeah, I would hope that this would lead to um, more more roles of this caliber, because clearly he can do it. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
So then We've got
What the last actor before we pivot, we gotta talk about. I did not know this was this person. I literally found out today that this was this person in the movie. Julia Fox with the bleached eyebrows.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, what the fuck was going on with that?
That was part of the like we're heightened, we're going for it. I didn't recognize her. I think that I've only seen her in Uncut Gems.
Yeah, and I've seen her just like on tabloids. Basically, that's it.
Sure.
Uncut Gems and that. That's it.
Yeah. Very interesting. I thought when we first meet her and she's filming about like her products and whatever, I thought that was all kind of funny.
Yeah.
Her slow transformation into like Satanist priestess, I was like, I don't know about this part.
Yeah, for sure.
But oh well, whatever.
Yeah, like the idea to like filming this, I guess, TikTok ad for whatever it was. That was pretty provocative, pretty interesting. And then her character kind of goes off the deep end pretty quickly after that. So
yeah. I liked her little mirror dress. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool at least. For sure.
Tim Heidecker as Tom, which I believe would be his agent.
Yeah, agent / manager.
Yeah. When he appeared towards the beginning of the film, I was like, oh, please tell me Tim Heidecker's in this for longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he was in it throughout. I always appreciate seeing Tim Heidecker. I don't think that he's necessarily giving like an amazingly stellar performance here, but he is funny. And I think like Jim Jeffries is funny. Tim Heidecker's funny. Marlan Wayans is funny.
Yeah.
I don't think that those people were hired accidentally. And I think that that's one of the things that's throwing people with this movie is they're like not grasping how funny this is throughout. And then Tim Heidecker gets like obliterated by the devil at the end.
He's blown up.
Like I don't know what happens.
I think that maybe the sonic boom from the fighter jets exploded his body in some way. Who knows?
Because he's being pulled apart on that big like pentagram or whatever thing.
Yeah.
Like by invisible forces. And at that point, Cam is like, I'm not going to kill you because something else is that like I was with it. I was like, okay, this is cool. Oh yeah, please kill this rich owner. Yes. And then when it got to Tim, I was like, I don't know what's happening anymore. you really lost me.
Yeah. I mean, in Canada, I think what he's supposed to represent is kind of how a lot of these agents do kind of proliferate these families, and the idea of someone that kind of infiltrates and says, your son is going to be the next golden boy. I'm going to take 7%, but I'm going to try to make him like the meal ticket for your family. Now he doesn't say that, obviously. It's much more cunning, but a lot of people hate sports agents because it's this weird dynamic of agents can. We talked about like how like mother and fathers, like you can kind of question if they're doing the right thing by their children. The agent, they're looking for dollars in people. Right. They've commodified their roster of talent, so they don't. A lot of bad ones don't see these people as human beings, and so like his whole thing is like, we're not going to talk about anything. We're not going to discuss anything. You are going to sign, so I can get my 7%, basically. Right. And I think this is kind of a takedown on that.
Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts or points that we didn't discuss?
No, I mean, I think, when you said this is like a real philosophical movie, I love the question that Isaiah asked. If you're starving in prison and he asks you for food or freedom, do you really have a choice?
Right.
And like the idea of like a lot of these people, you know, they're coming from, some are kind of coming from disadvantaged families, or maybe they're just coming from families where there's a lot of pressure to succeed, and it's fair to question, do you have an actual choice of what you do with your life? And I think for this movie, by the end, Cam's answer is yes, I have a choice, and I'm choosing
Right.
to not do this. I'm choosing to be myself,
Right.
and I think that may be the ultimate lesson that everyone should walk away with from this movie. So
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
a pretty solid movie. I liked it.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think that this is like the greatest film of the year. I don't think it has to be. No movie has to be. But I did enjoy it. I did find it cathartic to see this kid put through this machine
Yeah.
from the time he is a child
Yeah.
and at the end decide to kill everyone. To kill everyone who's involved in like bringing him to this point. And, you know, do we glorify and celebrate violence against real people? No, but this is a film.
Yeah.
And we know that, you know, it's symbolic of killing the temptations and killing the quote unquote opportunities. You know, if if the owner of a sports team can afford to pay you $40 million, that money means nothing to them.
Absolutely.
And they're literally buying you. They are buying you, and they don't care if you live or die. So
Yeah.
I again, as a sports hater, specifically American football, I had a great time.
There it is. There it is.
I had a great time. Good performances, you know, good runtime. I didn't even finish my bag of peanut M&Ms before it was over. So
There it is. There it is.
yeah. Mark, where can people find you online?
You can find me on, I'm calling it Twitter. It's Twitter.
Absolutely.
You can find me at Twitter at Showing Mad Love, SHOWINMADLOV. And you can find Seth on our most recent episode of We Should Do This Again Sometime podcast, where we discuss Mulholland Drive and Millennium Actress.
That's right. Yes, I'm having like deja vu recording with you again so quickly. Yeah, we just talked about Millennium Actress and Mulholland Drive, and you know, another industry that chews up and spits people out,
For sure.
regardless of their contribution to that industry. So, yes, definitely check it out. And hey, appreciate you coming by.
No problem, buddy. Anytime.
Glad that we got to do this. And hey, I appreciate you listening wherever you are. If you haven't done so yet, we'd love it if you give us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. If you're listening on Spotify, hey, you can leave us a comment right on this episode. Oh my gosh. Don't know what to say? You can just say, hey, or hi. Hey, you can leave a football emoji. You can leave a him emoji. Wow. Interpret that however you want. You can also send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about him. You know, a lot of people are not liking this. And I would like to hear from you if you didn't like it. You know, prove me wrong. You know, maybe I'll put up a big sign out there that says prove me wrong. Okay?
Well, you know, we want to be cool on that for a little while, you know, so. But hey, him Hive is here.
That's right. That's right. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Hey, man, look, you like voting? Well, guess what? If you sign up, you get to vote on episodes that we do every single month and once a quarter, an entire month of episode themes. Oh my gosh. You also get access to all of our additional episodes, our patron-only Discord, bunch of stuff. And, you know, you get to go to bed tonight feeling good that you did something with that $5 that you would have just spent on, I don't know, drugs or, you know,
Oh wow.
a Big Mac. You know, McDonald's isn't doing the 2 for $5 anymore. It's a shame.
2 for $5 Big Mac. You pine for the 2 for $5 Big Macs, Seth?
Look, when the 2 for $5 Big Mac comes around, I'm eating 2 Big Macs for $5. Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
Anyway, hey, thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. This is a fun one to do.
For sure, absolutely.
And hey, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.